I feel like the second the camera turns on, I'm like, I forget everything I've ever done in my life. Oh my God, I feel like my brain just fell into a vortex. I was thinking about when I tried doing this with teff flour, which literally didn't make any sense. Teff flour is a gluten-free flour. Obviously there would be no gluten development. You can't rush this process. Hi guys, welcome to FlamBaé. My name is Yanni, and today we're gonna be making pizza dough. Now I've done this a couple times before. They've been utter failures. I went through the auto lease, I set it to bulk ferment, and then I forgot about it. What happens when you leave your pizza dough for too long is the yeast eats up all the protein. So don't leave your pizza dough too long. Don't take a nap for 10 hours overnight. Don't do it. Watch your stuff, remember it, put a timer. Okay, so now let's start from scratch. I hope this is the pizza dough to end all pizza doughs. So this is gonna be a blend of flours. Let's start with our all-purpose. This is a high-protein all-purpose. I'm using 20% of this. I'm using 20% whole wheat, and then I'm using 60% type 0 flour. This is really, really fine flour. This is like the stuff they use in Italy. It'll add a way more delicate texture to your dough than just using regular all-purpose. I've gone through many failures, and this has just yielded the best results for me. 500 grams total of flour. I'm doing a 66% hydration, just mixed in the flour and the water, that is it. I'm just gonna go in and slowly incorporate it with my hand. What I'm doing now is called an auto lease. I'm just mixing the flour and the water so I can get a little extra gluten development. You can get some more gluten development without the salt getting in the way. And I'm just gonna go in until the flour and the water is incorporated here. I'm gonna cover this and let it auto lease for like 30-45 minutes. All right, let's do some yeast. I'm using 1.5% of yeast. Active dry is totally fine. You can do cake yeast, you can do sourdough starter. I reserved some of my water from before. I didn't want to use all of it in that mixture with the flour, so I could use it to activate the yeast. Just gonna mix it with my finger. Alexa, stop timer. Here we find ourselves again. Okay. The yeast has been activated. There are some gas bubbles forming. Now I'm gonna add in the salt. I'm gonna put in the oil now. I don't know. It looks the same to me. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna pour this into the middle. Start incorporating it with my hands. I'm just kind of pulling from the sides and pulling in towards the center. Going in circular motions, trying to mimic a dough hook. If you have a fancy KitchenAid mixer, by all means, put it under. I don't have one, so I'm gonna keep doing this by hand. When I was, the first time I did this, I went to my fridge, I pulled out my Brita, and I used water from there. The whole point of living in New York City is that the water is so good here. I mean, that funky stuff is what makes it so freaking tasty. It's getting there. You can see how their gluten is developing. The point of kneading is creating gluten development. There are two proteins that combine to create what we see in gluten. When you slice a piece of bread and you take a peek at it from the side, when you look really closely, you can see like an actual web. It looks like a web of stuff. Gluten literally creates the structure of breads. Makes them strong enough to be able to press into, and then it gives and springs back. It gives it its elasticity, its flexibility, and those air pockets are from the empty space between those gluten strands. So what we're doing is developing the gluten, we're working it, making those strands stronger, pulling them, stretching them, reshaping, adding more air pockets. It's becoming much more smooth. All right, I've been working this dough for what feels like, honestly, forever. The texture has suddenly changed. It's silky, it's smooth. It is much more elastic. It stretches really, really nicely. Now what's gonna happen with whole wheat flour is that the elasticity decreases a little bit, so it'll tear sooner than it would with standard 00 flour. You should be able to pull it and stretch it enough so that light passes through. I'm happy. I see light through here. I've transferred it to a clean bowl. Make a nice little ball of it. Boom. Okay, we're gonna let this bulk ferment for a couple hours. We're not gonna fall asleep this time. I'm covering it so the dough doesn't dry out. I'm gonna put a towel over it, let it sit in the corner with a dunce cap on. I let this bulk ferment. Bulk fermentation is fermentation, but when it's in its bulk, before you separate it out into individual pies. I'm just gonna grab a little bit. Fine, 280. I'm trying to get about 275 grams per pizza. This is beautiful dough. I'm so happy with it. Using your hand, turning it and pushing in is gonna be an easy way to kind of form these little pizza balls. So I'm gonna cover these and let them rest in the refrigerator for 72 hours. Ferment a little longer, we'll get a little more complex flavor in this dough. All right, so we are back. We are making our sauce today. This pizza is fermenting in the refrigerator. We'll come back to that. I finally landed on this homemade peeled tomatoes. These are San Marzano tomatoes, right? I would hate if they weren't. Organic tomatoes imported from the rich volcanic fields of southern Italy. Yeah, but it doesn't specify if it's San Marzano. Well, I don't have them. Okay, we're gonna use these tomatoes. They're not San Marzano, which is what you traditionally use in a pasta sauce, but I'm perfectly happy using whole peeled tomatoes. If they're peeled, it means I don't have to do it after the fact. First step is to toast this garlic. I'm gonna mince it. No, because it's gonna go in the blender anyway. Okay, I'm just gonna cut it a little bit, throw it over the hot pan, and that's fine. Just gonna break it apart, just so there's more surface area that toasts. Just a little mixy mix. We're just trying to brown it. Get a nice depth of the garlic flavor. Get rid of that stinky garlicness. Okay, let's open this bad boy whole peeled tomato can. So what I wanna do is run all these tomatoes through the food processor before I add the garlic in. And that way I can strain it after I do this. So there's two ways to make pizza sauce. Traditional Neapolitan sauces have more watery and runny sauces. New York-style pizza has more concentrated sauce. I live in New York, so obviously I'm opting for the New York-style sauce. I'm gonna run this through a sieve. This is very toasty. Okay, I'm gonna take this out right now. Olive oil and all, we're gonna add olive oil into here anyway. You have to touch your food. You have to be comfortable enough to touch your food. A real chef isn't afraid of this. Yeah, if you're working in a restaurant, don't touch your food. This is for all of y'all who are cooking for yourselves at home. If you don't touch it, if you don't taste it, how do you know if it's good? That's the stuff. Look at this. I'm comfortable with this consistency. It has a little bit of wiggle, but there aren't ripples like it's an ocean. So let's pour this back. Salt, salt, and a little bit more olive oil for some added richness. That is so good. I love the garlic in this. It adds such a nice toasty touch. Inspiration has struck. I'm adding a little oregano here. I could top it at the end, but I kind of want it spread and dispersed evenly throughout the sauce. Amazing. Shall we graduate to the next step? Cut that shit. Cut that shit. All right, so this is very important. When you have a lot of money and you can drop $800 on a beautiful little pizza oven that sits on your countertop, you don't have to think about getting your regular oven hot enough. Unfortunately, I'm not swimming in wealth. The way I'm going to tackle this to achieve a crispy bottom under my pizza is by using a pizza stone. This conducts heat, so the goal is to preheat your oven with your oven stone in it. That way, the second you throw your pizza on, it will puff up the crust really quickly. Another amazing thing about pizza stones is that they cook more evenly. Ovens are not closed systems. So, for example, like the back of your oven, it gets really, really hot, and the front of your oven doesn't. So this distributes heat really evenly in a way that your oven cannot achieve. The other thing I did is I moved my rack up to the second from the top shelf. It's gonna get searing hot up there because heat rises. And then I threw the pizza stone on there to preheat with everything else. And now it's time to pull our dough out. Let's see how it's doing. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy. Now I'm thinking, so what I want to do is do the thing with pizza, open it up, then I want to throw it in the oven before I put the toppings on. So it gives it a chance to cook and dry out. Then after a couple minutes, pull it out, top it, then throw it back in. Is that too convoluted? Because the thing is with ovens, they don't get hot enough. So I'm worried if I don't cook it first, it'll still stay wet, despite the pizza stone is supposedly absorbing this moisture out. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna have to top it. So I've got my 00 flour here. I'm just gonna spread it on this. I'm gonna do this straight up on this little paddle thing. That way I don't have to transfer it. I hope that doesn't bite me in the ass. Oh, little baby pizza! How do they do it? Is this doing anything? This is doing something. Who knew this would be so difficult, this part? It's like you get through this entire process of making dough, and then suddenly you're terrified of ripping it here. How do they do this? They do this thing. I'm gonna tear this. Oh God, it's tearing. Okay, let's stop messing around, Yanni. Really not bad. Okay, I'm gonna plug that hole there, shape it into an actual circle, and just kind of use my fingers and poke, 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 poke. Should I dress it? Is it ready to go to the prom? All right, let's do it. Oh, the moment of truth. You don't know how long I've been waiting for this. Just a little bit of sauce here. I have this gorgeous prosciutto di Parma, so prosciutto from the Parma region in Italy. I got from my local Italian butcher. I'm just gonna cover this. There is no reason to be shy with your toppings. If you've spent this much time making pizza, you sure as hell better dress it. I have this gorgeous block of fresh mozzarella. Don't chop it. Just messy pieces are fine. It'll look cute just as is. I'm not gonna do the basil leaves just yet. I don't want them to burn before this finishes baking. So I'm gonna add them in like the last 2 minutes. God, I hate this part. This is always the worst part. It's not moving. Did I just drop an entire cube of, I did, mozzarella. It's not coming off, hold on. What do I do? Oh, this is so stressful. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? I have to get this off here. Okay, I'm gonna put a little flour underneath. Ideally, I shouldn't have too much flour because this will burn, but can't really burn your pizza if you don't have a pizza in the oven. Let's try this again. Don't be shy. Amazing. You know what? I'm a mess right now. Do you see the emotional toil this pizza has caused? No, don't cut the camera. We're gonna keep going. Come on, dear. Another shred to make up for the one that dropped into the abyss of the oven. Alexa, set timer for 8 minutes. Oh God. Why couldn't it get off the paddle? The toppings came off before the actual pizza did. There must be something I'm doing. You know, it's fine. It got into the oven, and truly that is all that matters to me. We should take the pizza out. I'm scared to do it. I like want it to cook as long as possible, but I just need to be a big boy. Okay. This is not bad. I recognize it as a pizza. It has a crust. Let's top it off. A little bit of red pepper flakes, a little more oregano, and a little more red pepper flakes. Music to my ears. Let me continue cutting this crunchy little boy. Yeah, so it's crunchy, it has a nice texture, this dough. So the initial issue was that it was very dry, and then the second issue that I ran into was that it was too wet. So now kind of finding a middle ground with a 66% hydration dough, a little bit of a blend. I think this is the best texture my dough has ever been. Considering I only have an oven, I think it tastes fantastic. Oh, last little quick tip. Take the remaining pizzas you have, the doughs, throw it in the freezer and save it for a rainy day. So now I have 2 extra doughs that I can use for a pizza. I could make pizza tomorrow. I could make pizza the next day. I could have pizza the rest of my life if I continue at this rate. If you guys like this video, shoot us a couple likes. If you want to comment on what you saw here today, send us a couple comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want me to make in the future. As always, my name is Yanni, and thank you for watching FlamBaé. So should I do it on here? Or should I just put it on here and slide it? Cut the tapes. I need some privacy.